Welcome to Equal Entertainment. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The Barbenheimer hype did much more than anyone expected, translating into box office gold for movies. Barbie shattered expectations by raking in over $155 million in its first weekend. It's the largest premiere of any film this year and the largest for a female director, and the biggest for all the movies based on a toy. Meanwhile, Oppenheimer brought in over $80 million. The Barbenheimer duo led to the biggest movie weekend in 4 years and the fourth biggest ever. It's also the first time in history that two movies brought in over $100 million and $50 million. Jamie Foxx says he went to hell and back in his first message to fans in months. Foxx was hospitalized in April for an undisclosed medical condition. In a video posted on Instagram, Foxx talks about the speculation as to what led to that hospitalization. He explained why he'd been away from fans for so long, saying he didn't want his fans to see him with tubes coming out of him. He did say that he went to, quote, hell and back, and appreciates all the love he received.
And I know a lot of people were waiting, or wanting to hear updates, but to be honest with you, I just didn't want you to see me like that, man. I want you to see me laughing, having a good time, partying, cracking a joke, doing a movie, television show. I didn't want you to see me with tubes running out of me and trying to figure out if I was gonna make it through. I went to hell and back. I just want to say that I love everybody, and I love all of the love that I got.
Actor Sean Gunn is criticizing Disney CEO Bob Iger for his stance on the actors and writers' strikes, along with Iger's astronomical salary. The Guardians of the Galaxy star says studio execs are squeezing their employees, and now Gunn is asking if that kind of greed is good for anyone.
I think it's important to remember that there's an ethical component to all of this. CEOs in 1980 used to make something like 30 times what their lowest workers would make. Bob Iger now makes 400 times what his lowest worker makes. And I would love to ask him the question, why is that okay? Is that a good thing is it a good thing for the country? Is it a good thing for your company that you're squeezing every last dollar out of the people who work for you?
Equity for workers remains at the forefront of the discussion in the Hollywood strikes. And I spoke with actor, writer, and producer and SAG-AFTRA member Dalila Ali Rajah about what's at stake for working actors and writers.
Would you kind of highlight what SAG-AFTRA is looking for? And then also explain how and why the residuals have become so paltry.
So it's a very long list of what a SAG-AFTRA is looking for, because we have 160,000 members. And so it includes background performers, dancers, singers, actors. We have a wide variety, and all of us need different things. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the sticking point around this has been the change around residuals, worries about how AI is going to show up in our business, safety, being able to have hair. For me, having hair and makeup artists on set that can actually do my hair and my makeup. And these are all things that the AMPTP refused to really make major movement on, because of besides inflation, which just it's made it so that the gains that we made in the last few contract negotiations just kind of, if we agree to what they wanted to agree to right now, by the time we reach 2026, we'd actually be making less money than we made in 2020. It's insane, because it doesn't actually account for inflation. Right. But a part of the thing is that broadcast pays one amount of money, and then you got a different, slightly lower amount of money if something was on cable. And then when they negotiated for internet rights, which also now includes Amazon, Netflix, all of those that are streaming, mm-hmm. They negotiated a way lower rate, because they're this is the internet and it's not real TV. And so we don't know how this thing is going to go. It's a gamble. So you got to give us time to get our footing. So it was way lower rates, not just in residuals, but in what they could use as contracts for us on regular TV. Usually we get a certain day rate, and on some of the Netflix shows, that day rate is literally a fraction of what it would be. And I mean by maybe down to sometimes 10% of what I would have made for the same day on a broadcast show. So now what they're doing is also moving stuff off of the platforms or rebranding platforms that used to be under the cable contract, like HBO Max, and now it's Max. And so Max is a streamer. Max is not a cable channel. So when they move everything over to Max, they can pay us at the streamer rate instead of the actual cable rate. And then on things like Freevee or like those ones that are like ad supported, free ad supported, we get almost nothing, if anything at all. It's pennies, but most of the time we get literally nothing. So that they're pulling it off of these major platforms and streamers where you can't watch it on the channel anymore, you can't watch it on their things anymore, but then they're putting it on ad supported stuff where they still get a licensing fee. We don't get money off of that. Like they just moved Insecure, for instance. Insecure's residuals are going to go way, way down from being on Netflix. Netflix still gets paid the licensing, like they pay the licensing fee to HBO, but HBO doesn't, and Netflix, neither of them have to pay out the same residuals that they were paying for it when it was on network. Yeah.
Wow, it's a really bleak picture, and I mean, thank you for painting that. And one of the reasons I wanted to chat with you is because you're at the intersections of several identities as a Black queer woman, and as we know, BIPOC people, women, and queer people really are not traditionally paid what white men are paid. So would you talk a little bit about how when marginalized communities get our stories told finally, and they're often on these streamers or on these cable because network doesn't want to deal with queer people especially. Would you talk about the doubly adverse effects of that?
I mean, it takes so much for us to get anything on, and that it's only being allowed on in areas where the initial amounts that were paid are less to begin with, and then the residuals are even less than what they usually are. And then on top of that, because they're in a growth model, which it's like a whole thing, probably too much to get into around like how the stocks work and all that stuff, but it's on a growth model versus on just a basic profit model, that if they don't keep growing, then they don't have the stock value that their stockholders want. And so they just keep trying to find things to make it grow. And ours are the first things to get cut out of that so that they can find something new and shiny to put in there to get more subscribers, right? But there's only so far that can go. There's only so far you can grow. There's only so many people. There's only so many people that are going to subscribe, right? So our stories only get told a little bit, then they get dropped. And then when they're doing all these things where they're like taking stuff off to get tax write-offs, the first thing they're going for is things with people of color and queer people. It's actually just demoralizing and devastating because we get so few images of us that we get to see. So that not only do they hardly get made, not only do we get paid less to make them, not only is it very hard for anybody who's working in any part of creating those endeavors, and then we don't get residuals on it and sharing the profit from what they made, that we're the first ones they choose to shelve so that people can't find it again, right? So like when you already have like almost no images out there and you can't even look for a rerun to watch the few things that you actually see yourself in any way, shape, or form, it's actually heartbreaking, especially on top of like all the legislation that's happening and all the racism that we're seeing in not just structurally, but like outright people saying things that are racist and acting like white nationalists aren't racist, like literally saying that over and over again until enough people hem them up that they have to like change their wording. You know what I mean? Like we're sitting in the middle of that, and stories are the thing I think that saves us from so much. You know what I mean? Like I think it's the most lasting form of creating change, and it has the most dynamic reach to create change. But I also think that that's why it's the first thing being attacked for people in marginalized groups, because people who want to keep things the status quo or roll things back, the best way to do that is to remove all of our images and our stories and the things that humanize us to people who don't know us.
What are strikers looking to allies to do?
Donating to stuff like that can be extremely helpful. Raising visibility on your social media platforms, talking to your families so that they understand that most of us in this industry, as much as it looks fun and glitzy and glamorous, are really just hard workers, oftentimes living hands to mouth. Like we're just paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes, not even that, borrowing and putting it on our credit cards until we can get like a good gig or what used to be getting like a residual check that sometimes would take care of us for a while, and that's just gone.
You can watch the Advocate channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for watching.